All right, welcome. Today, I am Kyle Chambers with Texas Quality Assurance. And what we're going to be talking about today is the QMS software TQA Cloud. Now, TQA Cloud was developed initially about 10 years ago. And this was developed out of a need to save time, to save energy on day-to-day tasks and activities so that we can actually focus on work that really truly matters to us and to our business. So that's what we're going to be discussing today with TQA Cloud. So there's a lot that goes into this. But before we kind of start diving into the details of the software, I want to give you a little bit of background on the software, kind of where it's come from, where it's going, and really why we did this to begin with. So really, all of this started out with kind of my own personal journey several years back. So see, the thing is I was originally the IT administrator for a small business. And as it is with small business IT, there maybe isn't always 40 hours of work every week. So what we decided is that I would take over health and safety for the company. So health and safety very quickly turned into environmental management, to quality management. And before you knew it, we were getting ready to go for certification to 9001, 18002. That's the pre 45001 standard for health and safety. And then 14001 for environmental. And we had less than a year to get all three standards implemented and to get us certified. What that meant is I was working consistently about 80 plus hours a week. And, any of you knows that's just not a good way to live your life. We work to live, we don't live to work. And when I started missing, my kids' t-ball games, that's when I knew something has to change. So we put some of the IT skills to use and set out to develop a quality management software. Basic stuff initially, taking a look at document control, non-conformance reports. What we're trying to do really is get rid of all of the tons of sheet of paper. We just want to be able to utilize the tool and move forward. So time moves on, and eventually I move out and start doing my own consultation work, developing software, all separate and on the side. But in 2016, took the full-time plunge and, tried to live the American dream, start your own business. And we have done a lot with the software since then. So TQA Cloud, I'll give you a little preview of it here. TQA Cloud is built entirely in Microsoft 365. So a lot of great benefits to Microsoft 365 here. See, when you're working with a software, there's always a learning curve. And that learning curve sometimes can be quite difficult to work with. So by working in 365, we're able to utilize familiar tools, familiar resources, everything that folks are already accustomed to looking at. We've got the same look and feel, the same type actions. So this really dramatically reduces that learning curve for new users. It always drives me bonkers when I see we've got some new software out there that's supposed to make our life easy, but you need to go to a 3-day training first before you can learn how to utilize it. Our goal is that with minimal, if any, instruction, you're able to get in, start using the tool and making life simple for yourself. We need to focus on what matters most, whether that is the next project that's going to take your business to the next level, or maybe you just want to get home in time for your kids' Little League game. Whatever it is, I want to make certain that we can provide you the tools and resources you need to focus on what matters most. So let's jump back into the software here for a moment. So within this, you'll see that we have several modules. We've got document control. Obviously, when we're talking about compliance, document control is absolutely huge, very, very critical. Then we have what we call our QMS management. QMS management is going to be things like non-conformance reports, corrective action reports, engineering change notices, suppliers, so on. We'll take a look at all those, I promise you. Competence and training, having been a HSE manager for about 10 years, I can tell you competence and training is my single most favorite module of the software, because I used to spend enormous sums of hours just trying to keep up to date with all of the various trainings we had to do. If you're running a safety program, you've probably got 20 to 30 different safety trainings, plus equipment specific trainings that you have to do on top of the other quality trainings and customer required trainings. And it's a lot to keep up with who is trained, who isn't. And try as you might, you're going to argue that, hey, we need to hire everyone all at once. But as we know in the market we've got today, you're going to hire folks here and there. And unfortunately, there's a bit of a higher turnover rate with most folks today than there was maybe 5-10 years ago. And so keeping up with competency training is really a tough task to do. But we make it simple, easy, saving time and effort along the way. The next big piece here is calibration and maintenance. Calibration and maintenance, another fantastic tool. It's going to let you keep up to date with every single calibration event, maintenance event, all in a single module, whether you need to focus on getting the tires rotated on your vehicles or getting your standards and thread gauges certified. It doesn't matter. You're going to be able to handle it from here. Very simple, easy to use reports going to show you what to do. Along with TQA Cloud here, we have a lot of built-in security in the system as well. So having the IT background, and I want to go ahead and mention as well, the company Texas Quality Assurance, we are a Microsoft partner. And so everything we do, we're really focused very strongly on security. So your site, everyone that is on TQA Cloud subscription will receive their own dedicated QMS site. So this is insulated from the outside world so that only folks with your domain name can be shared access to it, and you have control of who does and does not have access within the site. So really makes security very simple, very easy, and that can be handled, I'll show you here, from what we call our security portal. So the security portal is pretty simple, pretty straightforward. If we need to add a user to the site, we add their email address in here. Again, only users with your company's domain name can be added here, and we can get very granular with the permissions. Not only we get granular with the permissions, but having been in that role before of an IT manager, quality manager, you never quite know what checking a box does or doesn't give someone access to. So we spell it out for you as simple and easy as we can. So basic access to read the site, ability to approve documents. We'll take a look at the document approval. It's a really fun feature as well. But you can get very granular on this, and we can set the access for every single module one at a time. Make certain that your folks have access to exactly what they need and nothing more. So that's basics of the security portal there. But let's dive in here and take a look at document control. Document control, especially for quality management systems, I just cannot overstate the importance of it. But if you are like so many other clients that we have and folks that we've run across, you're probably going to have this type of a file structure. You're going to have one layer over here. We're going to have probably a folder on a network file share, and you're going to have your PDFs here. Then we're going to have another folder. This is the Word or Excel version of that PDF. That PDF's the approved version. That's what everyone has access to. But this was the latest one we edited. Then you're probably going to have another folder somewhere else that is going to have all of your archived copies in it. So now we've really got 3 versions of every document that we have to keep up to date with, not to mention all of the ones on everyone's desktop and email that are floating around. Let's throw all that out the window. Let's make life simple. Let's make it easy. So we'll jump in here and take a look at document control. Now, first, document control, we've got what we call our process documents, and we've got our technical documents. Process documents, these are things like your policies, manual, your forms, job descriptions, procedures, work instructions. Technical documents might be external documents. Maybe these are codes or standards or customer supplied data, technical docs and specs, drawings, inspection forms, and so forth. So we're going to have all of these various libraries. And that's because we have found over the years that this best matches the way that you need to operate and manage and store your data to keep it simple, to keep it organized. So let's take a look at one of these libraries. I use this one for demo purposes a lot. So you'll see there's kind of a lot of random files in here. But one thing you're going to notice is this version number. This version number and the approval status here are very critical for maintaining our document control. What we want, the goal of document control, is that only the approved documents are available for folks to access. 9 times out of 10, it's folks that have read-only access that are accessing your documents. We want to make certain they have access to only the most recent and approved version of a document. Well, I'll select a few here. You can see that all of these documents are still in a draft version, and they've never even been elevated to version 1. If I were a read-only user, I wouldn't even know they exist. They're gone. They're completely hidden from me. I have no access to them at all. Now, my account here has approval level access, so I can see these draft documents. But if I was read only or even edit access, I would have no idea they exist until they've been approved at least once. Now, with that, let's take a look at a document that's maybe been approved a few times over. You can see I use this for demos a lot. So this is on version 17 currently. But let's take a look at the version history on it. Remember I said that we want to get rid of all of these various subfolders. This is a critical step in getting rid of those subfolders. What we do here is we keep track of every single version of the document that we've ever had. Every edit, every change, every modification, it's here. So with the version history, we can see when the document was edited, who edited it, and any comments that they put in there. You can see I have a little bit of fun maybe with with the comments on the demos. But that's kind of what you can come to expect working with us is we really try to make quality management as fun and exciting as can be. My wife tells me I'm a bit of a geek, and she's probably correct there. But we really make sure that we can have all of the information in here. When it's time to publish that document, what we'll do is we can come in here. We'll go ahead and cancel the approval on this one real quick because it's already was in that pending status. So this is that approval status. So this document's in pending. It's waiting on someone to approve it. This is in draft. We're going to go ahead and elevate this to pending. We're publishing it for approval. So we'll say here, hub for approval, some great comments about the changes we made. So we'll go ahead and put it in there, submit it. What's going to happen now is that an email is going to go out to the required approvers. We can see the required approvers column here. So go ahead and look at that. And for this approval path here, that means that we're going to send an email to the admin of the site, and we're going to send an email to myself. And both of us have to approve the document in order for it to be approved. If either one of us finds issue with the document and rejects it, we can do that by selecting a reject button on the email that we received, and we can type in our comments there. It's a very, very useful feature. We, in fact, use it frequently when we're doing consultation work with a number of our clients, because we'll create the initial draft of the procedures, the forms, the manual, so forth, and we'll publish for approval so the client approves the document. Then they'll review any changes, modifications they want. They can put in the comments, reject it, and it comes back to us. And by doing this, we're able to have a very simple, very automated, very effective system of document approval. So it really makes life simple, makes life easy, and that is absolutely the goal at the heart of everything that we're doing here. So that's the basics of document control. All of the libraries function similarly. We have, of course, a few additional features in here, such as tracking of metadata. So we can identify the document number, document description, document category. Now, this library here is not filled out very well, but let's go ahead and check out one of these. So we're going to check out that document. While this document's checked out to me, I and only I can see the changes that are being made to the document until I check it in. It's kind of like an old school library. You're checking out the document. You've got access to it. Other folks can see the latest approved version, but only you can see that current draft. So we can come in here and identify the document category. And we've got a number of options to select from. And all of these, I want to throw this out here too, as we're going through the software. All of the drop-down options that you see here are editable. So it is not coded in stone. It is all editable, and that can be handled over here from the other tab. And we've got various site lists that you can edit, such as the category list that we were just looking at for our document categories. And so here we have our document categories that can then be edited or modified. So this enables you to really customize the tool with very minimal effort. I've run into that before several times where folks are like, oh, the software is very customizable. You can do anything you want with it. And it's like, yes, you can do anything you want with it, but you kind of need to have a master's degree in computer science to understand how to do anything with it. We really want to make certain that this is, again, simple, effective, easy to use. So those are kind of the basics of document control. But the benefits that this gives is, we don't need to sit down with multiple printed copies, review, redline. All of it can be handled electronically. The automation for approval is very simple, very quick, very easy to use. And so this lets you actually treat this, lets you do it over a cell phone. You can open it up on your cell phone. You get in the email app, you click the link to the document, you go review it. go back to email, put in your comments as to why you either approve it or reject it, and it's all handled. You never had to sit at a desk, never had to talk to anyone. We just get the work done and move on to whatever else matters in our business that day. So let's take a look again here then at the software. And what we're going to do now is we're going to take a look at our QMS management piece. So we've kind of got the idea for document control, but we really need to make sure that we can focus on our QMS management. And this is going to be things like non-conformance reports. Did we have a rework? Did we have a failed inspection? Maybe a customer complaint? What is it? We want to make sure that we log those in here. Or, very frequently, this is one of the new features we added, is let's say that you've got a supplier issue. Well, with that NCR, we can actually tag the supplier on it. Then when we go look at that supplier in the approved supplier list, we can see the full history of all of the NCRs from them. So we'll take a moment to take a look at that as well. We've got audit management. We have one of the audits that you go through: internal audit, external, customer, license, whatever it may be. We can store it in here, keep the report in it, keep the notes in it. You've got the full history on it. We can even use it to schedule future audits. Engineering change notifications, management of change, risk register, hazard assessment. These are some really fun tools as well, especially for health and safety folks, but also for quality. Look, we all know that the risk register has become kind of a staple of quality management. But if you're like me, you've probably not run into many risk registers that are actually practical, that help your business. It tends to be like we almost want to run the business from the register, and that's not the way it should be. And so we want to make certain that it again, is simple. It's easy to use. We don't want to overcomplicate it. We don't want to overthink it. We want to keep it simple and easy to use so that it is a tool to add time to our schedule and not detract from it. With each of these dashboards, you'll see that we've got several help videos. So we want to make certain that folks understand the differences in all of these things, how to use it, how to work with it. Not that we don't enjoy supporting our customers, but I know if you're like me, you're probably working on this and you need the answer right now. Maybe you don't want to pick up the phone and call. Maybe you don't want to wait on an email response from a ticket. So we try to put as much information available for you as we can. In fact, we have a whole start guide that is available to us as well. But let's take a look at one of these tools. We'll take a look at our non-conformance reports. So non-conformance reports, NCR, these are when we have some sort of a non-conformance. We didn't meet a requirement, whatever the case may be. There was a non-fulfillment of a requirement, and we need to record it because this is really, really fantastic stuff for data collection. But we want to make certain that it's, again, a simple form. We don't want to have overkill on the form, but we don't want to not collect enough data. So this is, again, the result of over 10 years of development on the software to get here. So let's take a look at our report. All right. Of course, we all know how it goes. Since you do a demo, things start to run slow. So we recently got a new internet service set up here, and looks like I got to get a couple of things set up on our filter. The video stream might be taking up a little more bandwidth than I got available. But anyways, we'll move on here. So take a look at a responsible party. Responsible party. This is who's ultimately responsible for ensuring the completion of the NCR. Now, if you're a small business, 9 times out of 10, this is the quality manager, maybe operations manager, but this can be useful as well for a larger small business. We're talking about somewhere in the vicinity of 3, 4, up to 500 employees. We can identify the NCR type. Is this internal? Is this external? Let's say this was external and it was supplier related. Then we have the option to select the supplier. And this supplier will actually be pulled from our list of approved suppliers so that we can issue an NCR specifically against that supplier. Perhaps this was material related. We can put in the heat number of the part. Again, additional traceability for later on down the road. Basic details from non-conformance. We can track the cost of poor quality from the material cost, our supplier cost, man hours, anything else. Again, really, really great tools, really useful for reporting. Then we have our disposition. Disposition is effectively what do we do about it? Now, again, non-conformance report, we're not looking at prevention on NCRs. We're just looking at documentation and our immediate fixes. But same thing here. Who is the disposition assigned to? Who completed it? And when was it completed? We can then come in here and identify, did we accept it? Well, great. Why did we actually accept this after all if we issued the NCR? Perhaps we scrapped it. We can identify the total quantity that was scrapped out of the total quantity of the batch. Even to rework, we can add our rework instructions here. Of course, a requirement of the of most management systems. How many were reworked, out of how large of a batch, what was the close date. So again, all of the stuff we need. Very simple, very easy to use, very effective, and it just lets you get your job done with as little hassle as needed. We can go to notes, place for additional notes. Bear in mind, the note section here does not show up on the PDF printed version of the NCR. So sometimes we've got internal notes that maybe we don't want on the formal report. Great location to put these. And of course, the ability to attach files. So fairly simple, straightforward. We can attach those files right from here, just like you would anything else. And so it's really kind of fundamentals of an NCR. I'm going to take a look here because I talked about that tie-in between our NCRs and our supplier list. Let's go take a look at our approved supplier list here. Now, the really cool thing about this is when you are managing your suppliers, you need to keep track of trends on them. How many times have they been late? How many times have we had the wrong material? What issues did we run into and how frequently did we run into it? Typically, this kind of becomes anecdotal information, or we have to stop everything we're doing and go do a little bit of research to figure it out. And we want to make this available, and not only just available for day-to-day purposes, but let's say when it comes time for management review, we need to report on these things. We have to re-review our suppliers on some frequency. Well, what criteria do you use to re-review your supplier? Well, one of the criteria should for everyone be, how many times do we have a problem with them? Do we have problems with late delivery, with poor quality, poor service, whatever it may be? How many times do we have a problem with them? So we're going to track those with the non-conformance report and tag our vendor on it. Since we tagged our vendor on it, that gives us a lot more fun that we can have. So let's take a look at our approved supplier list here. So these are all fictitious vendors, no one real on here. And we can see that we've got the frequency with which we want to reevaluate them. And then if we open up one of these, let's go ahead and sort this alphabetically. If we want to go ahead and find one of these vendors, let's go ahead and open up one of them. I'm going to open up a Bright Dog here. And I want to see, have we had any non-conformances for this supplier? So we're going to take a look at the form here. And when we take a look at it, again, what we're going to be looking for is how many times in the recent history have we had a problem with them? Have they been late, the wrong material, whatever the case may be? We want to make certain that we get a chance to find that information. And I don't really want to have to go digging for it. I just want it to be available right there for me. So let's take a look here at the supplier. So first thing on the supplier, we can show all the basic information about them, primary contact information. Did we conduct an audit on them at any point in time? If so, how recent was it? When's their next evaluation? And then we go to the notes and NCRs. Again, option for attachments, maybe our initial vendor approval information, any additional notes on them. And then we can track any non-conformance reports that have been issued against them. So in this instance, we do have a instance of a non-conformance report. So we can go ahead and open up that non-conformance report with just a click of the mouse, and we're able to see exactly what did or did not occur. So again, it makes life very easy that we can get all of these features integrated and brought in together. So that's kind of the fundamentals of our approved supplier list. So yeah, here let's pull up the non-conformance report again. Sorry for the load time here. I guess the bandwidth here isn't supporting the video real well since we moved over to the new internet service, but it works out really well that you can keep everything, again, simple, easy to find, easy to evaluate. So let's go to one of the built-in reports that we have. Get some of these extra tabs closed out. I get a little tab happy there sometimes. So we're going to scroll down to the bottom of the page here on the dashboard for our QMS management. And this is going to pull up a Power BI report. And this Power BI report is for our non-conformance reports, our corrective action reports. And what it's going to do is it's going to show us a lot of different ways that we can filter and analyze our data. It does take the report just a moment to load because it's really gathering a lot of information, a lot of data from the site. And what we're going to be able to do here is we're going to see how many times do we have a non-conformance report to a specific disposition? How many times do we have a certain defect code, or maybe during a certain period of time? So let's take a look here. This is kind of a lot to look at, but we're going to go through it. We can see total NCRs by month. Well, let's take a look at what happened in January. January, we had 6 NCRs. And of those, we can sort them down by defect code. We can see how many were scrapped, how many were reworked. We could even narrow it down to say, take a look at only the external NCRs from that time period. So it's really going to give us what we need, again, at a very simple, quick glance. And it's going to let you do all of the analysis necessary to effectively run your business and make good decisions. And so we've got this available for our corrective actions as well. But again, just kind of a sample of what's available in TQA Cloud. Now, I won't spend just too much time on the rest of these modules. We could go into a full demo and everything else. And so please, if that's something you're interested in, be sure to contact us and make sure the contact information is listed below. And you can find us online at texasqa.com or find me on LinkedIn, Kyle Chambers. Be happy to chat with you about anything you got. Let's take a look briefly at our risk register. And we'll kind of skip over some of these other features and modules for the moment. But let's look on the risk register. Whoops. Sorry about that. All right. So risk register, what we've got here is the option for us we can identify these as safety, quality, whatever the case may be. What's the specific aspect? And then we're looking here, have we defined this as critical? Critical means we are choosing to take action against the risk. Now, a lot of times this is done with an RPN, which we do have as an available option. But I found that most business owners, most managers, we have a hard time identifying a specific RPN to a company-wide risk. And they need to be perhaps reevaluated in more detail than it sometimes is valuable. If we're taking a look at, say, a design FMEA, makes complete sense. But from the top level, ISO 9001, risk-based thinking register, or identification of legal requirements for 45 or 14,001, we really just want to determine, do we need to take action against the risk, or is it here for us to know? Effectively, awareness of the risk. We can identify the legal requirement, what mitigation steps are going to be taken, and very important, because we don't want to live in the risk register. We want it to be there as a support tool for us, but it's not where we work from. We can then point to the proper work instruction for what document do we need to find that shows us how to control and mitigate this risk effectively. Do we have a need for a contingency plan? And especially if you're working with, say, API Q2, we have a very specific requirement for contingency plans, so we can list those in there as well. As with everything else, we have the option for notes and attachments. So then we can identify all of those risks, but we can go a little bit further. We'll take a look at our hazard assessment. So hazard assessment is another one of these real fun forms for me. So the hazard assessment is a way for us to identify all of the key risks associated to a particular work area. Maybe this work area is the weld shop. Maybe this is as specific as a single piece of equipment, but we can get that narrow on it if required. And it's going to show us all of the risk associated with it, all of the legal requirements associated with that work area, and all of our mitigation methods associated with it. So when you're working with, say, 14,001 or 45,001, this identification of legal requirements is a really, really huge component for our business. And we want to make certain that we can show specifically how we identify the legal requirements, where they apply, and what we're going to do about it. So in order to facilitate that, we have our hazard assessment report. Now, this runs off of the data we put into the risk register. And what it's going to do is it's going to issue a hazard assessment, effectively a JSA, but a little bit different here, a little more permanent of a JSA. Again, really developed for the shop environment as opposed to field support. And we identify what's the aspect, what's the control level, is this admin control and engineering control, what are our mitigation methods, legal requirements, and mitigation documentation. And I can tell you from personal experience, when you're going through that 14 or 45,001 audit, and you can show this hazard assessment, how it's been posted, employees are trained to it, they understand it, that answers about half the questions we have in regard to, operational control and, identification, legal requirements, and risk with just a single document posted in each work area. So it's really, really a great tool. Very useful, very powerful, very helpful for your organization. So kind of basics there of the risk register. So that's the QMS management in a bit of a nutshell. But it's, again, chock full of a lot of really helpful, really useful tools to help you on your day-to-day basis. Now, let's take a look at competence and training. So again, competence and training, like I said, this is one that can be really, really tough for a lot of folks. Competence and training, let's talk about some of the intricacies that fall into competence and training and really maintaining an effective competence and training program. So one of the key requirements for competence and training is that we identify what trainings we do or don't provide. Now, that may seem kind of like, well, of course, but try to sit down and actually write a list. If you've not done it before, write a list of every single training that you either provide to your employees or that you track. Maybe they had a certification from a previous company that they brought with them. You want to keep evidence of that. It's sometimes not as easy as it seems. And maybe you've got a matrix, but that matrix can be edited maybe sometimes a little too easily. And I've run into a number of times where there are multiple copies of that matrix. And this manager made some changes that don't match the changes that another manager made. So we really need that single location. And then it comes into, well, it's pretty easy to see who has been trained. I mean, that's really pretty straightforward. Who has been trained? When there's no retrain interval required, it's pretty easy to see who needs to be trained. So if we take some basic awareness stuff, say like the quality awareness, we're going to talk about the policy, the objectives, basic awareness stuff. We really need to do that once. I mean, it's good to do it more, but from a ISO requirement standpoint, we need to do it once. Maybe we're talking about hazardous communication. Well, I told you where the SDS binder is. I talked about all the bad chemicals we have here. And unless anything changes, I've made you aware I've got to do that once. Well, those are fairly easy. Same thing with orientation. But what about forklift training? What about weld certification, requalification? What about all of these things that have an interval associated with them? Crane and rigging training, and maybe even some of your own trainings you just want to do on an interval anyways to make certain that folks stay up to date. Or maybe someone moves into a new department, and all of these things start making it very difficult to see who needs retraining, who missed it, when's it coming up. And it's even more difficult when you have to bring in a third-party trainer into the mix, and those have to get scheduled in advance. Well, I don't know who's due for training 4 months from now. Well, we can make all that happen, make it simple and easy for you to use. So let's take a look at our competence and training module. So competence and training, we've got a few pieces of the puzzle here. We have the training library and we have the toolbox talk library. The difference is training has a retrain requirement. Toolbox Talk does not. Toolbox Talk has no requirement associated with it. Maybe this is the pre-shift safety talk. We just need some quick information available for that pre-shift safety talk. But let's say you're absent today and you missed it. I'm not going to make you sit through it tomorrow. So that's kind of different from Toolbox Talk and Training Library. Then we've got our competence records, and then we've got our training classification groups. Training classification groups are going to tell us who has to have which one of the trainings. It's effectively it can be linked to a job description or a work area or department, and you define for a calibration techs, these are all the trainings they have to have. For our field techs, these are all the trainings they have to have. And those pull from our training library. Now, the training library it's our repository of all of the various trainings, again, that we provide or we track for the company. Within there, we can store all sorts of information. So you can put all of your training materials, or even better, link to your training materials. So we see here, we've already got a link in place, and that can be done by creating a link here. And then when we click that link, that will go ahead and forward us to wherever it was, just like links work. In this case, maybe it's an internal document on our system that we can link to, but this is going to show us the training materials. Typically, we're going to be linking to an internal procedure or a work instruction, or maybe to an outside company that provides this training for us. But we can put all of that information in there. And that's the training library. Each training is also identified by what we call a retrain interval. So a retrain interval of 0 identifies that they have to have this training at least once in their tenure with the company, whereas a retrain interval of 1 would mean annually, 2 would mean every 2 years, and so on. So once we have a training completed, it's time to enter in a record for it. Well, if you're doing that, maybe you've got a scan of um, their card. Maybe they got like a certification card or a certificate from an outside training, or maybe you've just got the sign-in sheet, or maybe it's on-the-job training. We just had the manager write up a letter that's saying that so-and-so has been reviewed and evaluated through on-the-job training, and it's now qualified for the position XYZ, and we can scan all of that in as well. So what we'll do here is we'll enter in a new training record. This is a digital sign-in sheet. It works really, really well. So let's pick a training here, maybe one that I know has a retrain interval. So we'll do crane and rigging. Then we need to add a particular employee. Maybe we want to add them one at a time because maybe we just trained one person this time. So we'll add them to the list. Maybe on the other hand, this was a large group training. We've got several folks that we want to add. So we'll go ahead and add all of their names here. Now all of them are here. Also, if you're working on a tablet, we've got a couple of clients that do this, they'll pass the tablet around and you can digitally sign in, totally skip the need for a sign-in sheet. Makes life, again, very simple, very easy. We have another client that even chooses not to do the sign-in sheet here, working with a tablet. Maybe that's not the most ideal way they want to do it. They still like the paper sign-in sheet, but they don't want to have to keep the sign-in sheet. And, while scanning is easy, it's still a hassle to go to the scanner. So what they will do is they will pull up the camera app on their phone and take a picture of the sign-in sheet right there and save that sign-in sheet straight to the training. Once all that's done, all we have to do is submit the training records. It'll create all the training records, link it to the evidence, the attachments that we had there. And now our training records are up to date. We have evidence of who took it, when they took it. And the beautiful thing there is that is going to populate into what we call our required training report. Again, probably my favorite tool on the system. Again, I'm a little biased. Used to be safety manager, and I'd spend probably a weekend, a quarter up the office going through pivot charts and sign-in sheets and photocopies and certificates, just trying to figure out who needed training in the upcoming quarter. And I remember saying to myself, man, it'd be so great if I just had a single report that could tell me all of my training requirements at once. So voila, the required training report. So with the required training report, we can filter down to a specific department, which can be very helpful. You're probably going to train folks in one department at a time. And then maybe we're going to go to a specific training. So here we'll select confined spaces for field level 1. So we see here that we've got one gentleman that was due to be retrained earlier this year, someone else a couple years overdue. And the rest of these have never had the training at all. But this is my log of everyone who needs training for this training in that department. I can print this out, and there I go. That's who I'm going to ask for when I go to complete the training. Once it's completed, enter in the digital sign-in sheet for the competence records, and we're done. Nothing else to keep up with. Again, very simple, very easy. We also have here what we call our expired or expiring trainings. Now, this is beneficial. Let's say that you don't really care who in shipping and receiving is certified to operate a forklift. Maybe you don't want everyone certified in the forklift. We just need to make certain that there's one person per shift certified to operate a forklift. And we don't want to let that forklift certification expire. Well, that's where this report's going to come in handy. It's going to show you everyone who has a training that's going to expire. Maybe that forklift training isn't a requirement for that person or that job. We just want enough folks to have it that we don't have to worry about it. This is going to let you keep up with all of those expiring trainings. So it's not going to show based off of the training requirements as identified by the training classification, but if they've ever had the training, when's it expire, so that we don't let it lapse. And with this, we can go out to 150 days in advance. And the same is true on our required training report, is we can see not only what is due now or within 30 days, we can go up to 150 days in advance to see who all will need a training in the next few months. So again, those kind of basics of the required training report and competence and training, again, just one of my favorite tools. It makes life so much simpler, so much easier. The next big feature here is calibration and maintenance. operates very, very similarly to the way our competence and training report operates. What we have here is an equipment list. This can be a list of every single piece of equipment that we maintain for preventative maintenance or for calibrations on. So whether it's a caliper, whether it's a company vehicle, we're just going to track it all right here. Then with each of those, we are going to identify what type tasks need to be completed. So for this one, we've got truck 115. Looks like it's got 156,000 miles on it. And we've identified that it needs to have a regular oil change, needs to have regular tire rotation, and a regular tune-up. Okay, so we've identified what it needs to have. Then each of those tasks are stored in the tasks library here. So the tire rotation, the tune-up, the oil change, it's all here. And we can tag it as either a calibration or a maintenance task. And it's going to have the interval on it of how frequently we need to make that change. So say new tires, we want to replace the tires every 70,000 miles. There we go. Let's say, maybe you're a little more conservative than that. And like, maybe every 70,000 miles is too long. I know we have used Discount Tire for years for our tires, and I think the warranty on their tires is only 50,000. So we'll go ahead and change that to 50,000 miles. So 50,000 miles, we want to make sure we get new tires on here. Same thing with calibration. This is going to be a 12-month interval, maybe a 6-month interval, whatever the case may be. We're going to come in here when that calibration or maintenance task is completed, whether we handled it in-house or outsourced it. Just like we did with the training records, we're going to enter a record that we completed a calibration or a maintenance task. We're going to have the option to attach the evidence of the record, everything we need right here. So let's say that we are doing that truck and we completed it today. And let's just say that we went ahead and did the new tires. Task was completed by, so I can take caps locks off. And if I can type properly here, Kyle Chambers. Let's say that we were at 201,000 miles today. We can attach a copy of anything, maybe the receipt from the tires or whatever the case may be. Save it. And then that's going to update our required training report. Sorry, not a required training report, a required maintenance calibration report, so that we can know exactly what is or isn't due for a specific task. Just give this just a moment here to load. But just like the required training report, so let's just see in a single page, single dashboard, all of the events that we've got coming up. And this is about as close to live data as you can get. The reports update every 3 hours during the day. But it looks like here we've got only 2 devices that are currently due or overdue for a maintenance or calibration task. So if you're in charge of the calibration lab or maintenance department, this is your go-to on a Monday morning. What have I got going on this month? Or maybe it's near the end of the month. You're wanting to get a head start on the quarter. So let's take a look 60 days out, maybe 90 days out. And we can start to get an idea of everything that's coming up. Makes it easy to stay on top of things, really never fall behind. Last big piece here are file shares and occupational health and safety. So the health and safety risk register is one of the big pieces of it, but we also have a full-blown accident investigation report. And with the file shares here, we've got a few different file shares. We've got what we call a company file share, executive file share, and production file share. All of these can be secured differently using that security portal we took a look at earlier. So that the company file share, we can have that available for most everyone. Executive file share, probably very limited folks. And then production file, this is going to be your job folders and things of that nature. Now, since all of this is operating on Microsoft 365, we can actually sync these files to be available offline. And so I'm not going to go through the full process here, but it's pretty simple. Just a few clicks of yes, allow, and it's going to sync those files with OneDrive to your local machine so that you can have an offline copy of those. I know a lot of times folks may be doing field work or maybe operating where they don't have good internet access. So syncing those production files for offline access is really, really useful. We'll take a look here at the accident investigation report. This is actually based off of an accident investigation report that I developed over the course of more than 10 years. I've done, I think last I checked, 76 different accident investigations. So this is a very comprehensive, very thorough report for accident investigation. One of the things I really like to focus on with accident investigation is I want to make certain that we get information from all of the available interested parties in that investigation. This is going to include not just the person that was injured. It's going to include the safety manager, top management. It's going to include witnesses. This is going to include a lot of information. So we want to make certain that we get all of that data from all of the various sources. And then we can keep track of it all electronically. And because a lot of this information is very sensitive information, we want to make certain, again, that this is very strictly controlled for security. And so through that security portal, we can identify to the individual user who does and does not have access to see or edit these accident investigation reports. So again, really useful tool there. Philosophy typically in software development here is bare minimum, simple as can be. Accident investigation is one where we tend to break from that pattern. And it's because when we do an accident investigation, if an accident occurred, something really seriously has gone wrong. This should not be occurring if we're maintaining a good and effective management system. So we want to collect as much detailed information as possible. And when utilized, this is a lot of good legal protection for you, for the employee, for everyone involved. We have a very clear understanding of what did and did not occur. And so we're going to do everything from that we need for our OSHA reporting purposes. Is it work related? Is there any reason to doubt the validity of the incident? Did the employee have any limited duty restrictions? Were their hours the same or less? All of the key information that we need. Go through the incident summary. When did it happen? When did they first get medical attention? What was the first day on restriction and so forth? And this, again, very helpful because I've been in the case where we've got multiple investigations going on and, you're just thumbing through folders and files and trying to find what you're looking for. Let's just put it all in one location. Keep it there, easy to find, easy to access. We go into our QHSE management investigation, to our supervisor investigation, employee statement, witness statement, and of course, as always, we have the option for attachments here. But again, really helpful, really useful, and a functional form. So those really are the fundamentals of TQA Cloud. And again, not just keep it simple, but we wanted to make certain that we could put all of these modules, all of these features in a single location. I hate having to switch between apps for different things. We've got one to take our trainings, one to record our results, one for our non-conformance reports, another one over here for corrective actions, and then our file shares are over off here on the server, and it just makes life really difficult. And that is not what we want to go for. We want to make certain that this is your go-to option for anything related to compliance management. Now, the pricing with TQA Cloud, we'll go through that here just a little bit. Let's just navigate straight to the website, shall we? And we'll talk a little bit about pricing for TQA Cloud. We cater specifically to someone from a 5-man shop up to about 500 employees is really who we target and who we go after. And it's really who the software is built for. This is not going to be your large enterprise class QMS software. This is specifically small business. So we build the price structure so that it makes most sense for small business. We have what we call our E1 entry-level start package. Up to 3 users, 3 gigs of data. The only limitation is we don't include the reports, such as a required training report, calibration and maintenance report. But this is going to get you access to your non-conformance reports, your corrective action reports. You can still track all of your trainings, all of your calibration events. Everything can still be tracked in here. It's just those Power BI reports are excluded on the E1. But it's just $100 a month, and you get a fully functional quality management system. You're not going to find all the little check boxes grayed out and you need to contact sales to use this one and to use that one. No, we're going to make it available to you. Next on the package here is S1. This is our starter package. This is good for 10 users. This is pretty common package here. Very good for our small businesses, typically less than 25 or 30 employees. It's really great option, up to 10 gigs of data, reports included. Really, really fantastic option for the smaller shops. S2, this is our SMB package, small, medium-sized business. So what this is it's up to 75 users, 75 gigs of data, and we include in it what we call on-demand customization. And I'll show you a small example of what on-demand customization might be for you. Let's take a look at our non-conformance reports here. On our non-conformance reports page, you're going to see that there is some highlighting and conditional formatting. So the yellow here in this instance is showing us that this NCR is still open. The green is showing us that it's still closed. We've also got several views. This could be, I want to see only NCRs that are dispositioned to myself. So then we've got a view for NCRs dispositioned to myself. So there's lots of different ways that we can do it. Maybe we want to take a look at it in a different format and in a gallery view. Well, that's what on-demand customization is going to be for. You let us know, Kyle, this is how I want to see and access my data, and I like to have it highlighted here, and I'd like in this condition for it to be available. Fantastic. That's going to be exactly what on-demand customization is good for. And so that is included with our SMB package. Plus, if you bundle it with any of our fractional quality management services, these are month-to-month support plans for our clients that maybe don't have a full-time quality manager and just need a little bit of extra support on a monthly basis. So we do bundle in discounts with that. And then we have S3. This is our, we call it SMB Plus. So it's good for up to 150 users. This is for the larger clients that we operate with. To 100 gigs of data. And, we throw in a little bit extra discount there as well. So if this is something you guys are interested in, you'll want to learn more about it, feel free to contact me directly. Of course, tons and tons of good information on the website about the QMS software, about how it works, how it operates. You can check out our reviews on Google, Capterra, everything. Make sure that you know what you're getting into. Goodness knows, that's what I do anytime I find a new software, a new tool that I'm going to be working with. But really want to thank you guys for your time here. And if there's anything at all that you've got questions on, never hesitate to give us a call. I look forward to talking with you, and you guys have a great day. And hopefully you can save time and effort and get back to doing work that matters. Y'all take care.